is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice. JFINEX community from different colleges, universities, and organizations, a happy, healthy, hopeful, and Holy Spirit guided 2021. Today, FINEX, through good governance and JFINEX committees, is blessed to have this forum with Honorable Carl Kedrick Chua on national economic recovery. I am Dada Del Carmen, and I am the outgoing chairperson for JFINEX community. Thank you so much for the past 4 years of your warm acceptance and active participations to the JFINEX activity. I am very, very pleased and happy that I have journeyed this with you. So thank you so much, JFINEX. Thank you for attending all those forums. Thank you for actively participating in the intercollegiate finance competition. And thank you so much for participating in the first JFINEX business conference held at MOA Arena. So let me introduce to you your next chairperson, the 2021 chairperson. She is the chairperson also of St. Peter Plan Incorporated, and she's happily married to York Bitangkol, the president and CEO of St. Peter Group of Companies, with whom she has 3 children. She is a recipient of multiple accolades and awards, and I will not name all of them. You can search her on multiple media platforms, and she is actively participating in several organizations. But her heart, as of now, is for you, JFINEX. She is allocating good resources, talents, time, and treasure for you. So I am a believer that she will bring JFINEX community to a new realm of excitement. So let us welcome our new chair for 2021, Dr. Mildred Bitangkol, as she starts with our first and exciting game. So Mildred.
Hi, Dada. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning to all. So I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be invited to this JFINEX and to be the next chairperson of the JFINEX. So LD Benny, Jeng, and Francis, thank you so much for being with you and be part of this very inspiring group, awesome group.
All right, so we will start with our first game, and all of you will be winning 500 pesos worth of gift or prizes for each question you answer correctly, and the first one who get to answer that will win the prize. Okay, and you on our virtual screen, you can see who sponsored these prizes. All right, so Mildred, let's have our first game called The Price is Right.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. Yeah, sure. Okay, so shall we start now with the first?
Are you going to give an example? Should we have one sample first? But this one, we don't have a prize yet. But let us have a dry run. All right, so let's start. So what do you think is the price for a kilo of Sayote. I like sayote with tinola. All right. And do we have answer already? Type in your answer in the chat box. Go, go, go. All right. Do we have winner? Do we have already a winner? 40. Yeah, I saw answer 40. Is that correct? Yeah, all right. The correct answer is between 25 to 50 pesos depending on the store. All right. So we have now the second game.
All right.
Okay, Mildred, go.
Okay, let's go. The price of bangus per kilo. Can we roll, please? So I hope everybody will try to guess. We have a winner here. Again, John Mark said that it's 180 per kilo, per kilogram. And the price is between 160 to 220. Ang galing talaga, no? John Mark, huh? Okay. So we have a winner. Okay, the next sample is the banana, latundan. How much is it per kilo? Okay, banana, there you go. Can we have some music? Okay, banana.
I like banana too, Mildred.
Oh yeah, it makes our skin nice, ba? Good for,
Yeah, a very nice comfort food.
yep. Okay, so how will we start this? There are
Do
a
we
lot.
have the winner?
Yeah. So I cannot
Okay, what's the correct answer? Can we show the correct answer? All right, the correct answer is 50 to 80. Next one.
so who gave the first? Okay.
Yeah, maybe later the secretariat will just flash them.
Yes.
Local rice per kilo again. What type of rice you like, Mildred? Me, I like red rice.
Jasmine.
I know some of the FINEX officers do not do not eat rice at all. It's
Wow. Keto diet.
our LD Benny, very seldom he will
That's
have rice.
uh, it's
Yeah,
effective.
all vegetables.
Wow.
All
We should.
right. And what's the range of local rice per kilogram?
So do we have the winner? There you go. I think we have a winner. We just don't know when. Who is the winner right now? I don't know if we can tell. The secretariat can tell us who's the winner.
Yeah, maybe we can announce them later as the secretariat will um, try to collate them and evaluate.
All
Okay.
right.
It's
So,
Miss Sheila May Sigwa.
wow. Congratulations.
So maybe later on we can flash all the winners or announce all the winners.
Mhm.
Okay. So is that the last item or do we have another one, Mildred?
We have one more. So I think we have Betchay.
Pechay.
So,
Yeah.
those who are, who wants to go to the palenque and know the the prices. Of course, palenque and groceries have different prices. So we have here a price range. So a lot of answers are coming in. So can we now, we have a winner, right? I can see the names already and with the price, with the correct price. So that's the answer, between 50 to 80 pesos per, um, what do you call that?
Per
Per bun,
kilo? Is that per kilo? I think that's per kilo. Yeah.
per,
Range.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, can we announce the winners for this game?
We have
Do
one,
we have it,
we
or
have,
we have one more?
we have three more actually.
All right.
Next
Okay.
one. Yeah, brown sugar. So who can answer first will be the winner of the brown sugar. Wow, they're so fast. The kids are so fast.
All
Answer
right.
fast.
So, can we display the answer?
All right.
There. And then maybe later on, at the end of the program, we'll announce all the winners,
All
Mildred.
right.
Okay,
Sure.
next one.
Next question. Chicken, egg. Okay. So per piece. Take note, this is per piece. So
Yeah.
how much is it per piece? I can see answers coming in. I think somebody already got the answer.
All right. Let's display the correct answer. 5 to 7 pesos.
Wow. All right.
And the last item, I think we have the last item per
Correct.
kilogram. Garlic is expensive, I
I-
heard.
Yeah. So, um,
But garlic is a good antioxidant
that,
or anti-inflammation.
it's very good. It, aside from making your food tasty, it has also a lot of value when you use garlic. Yeah.
All right, and our correct range is
I think it's also some already. Yeah. Between 80 pesos to 120 pesos. So,
right.
very-
Okay, so that's the last item for the price is right. Now we'll have the next game. But this game is extra special, Mildred, because only in JFINEX you can play this game.
or
Because the next game is an excerpt of the intercollegiate finance competition.
oh my,
So we since in 2020 we canceled the intercollegiate finance competition because we cannot have face to face. So let's honor this activity through in this moment. So the intercollegiate competition, the excerpt is vetted by our friends at PwC, wherein our dear Jade is also a member of JFINEX. So her team um, who vetted the questions are Rainiel Llano and Ramon Alfonso Marcaida. So thank you so much for vetting the questions. So we will not have an example here. So we will flash. Be, be prepared with your calculator if necessary. I do not know if that's necessary. So let's see and take a look at the first question. All right. Can we present the answer, please? The correct answer is letter B.
yeah.
So let's move to the next one. Mildred,
Oh my God. I
see,
think,
they are very fast.
yeah, they're so fast. My
Okay,
God.
let's present the correct answer.
Yeah, somebody already. I can see someone did send. Can we show the answer now?
The correct answer is letter D.
Yes. And
All right, for our next question,
I'm sure this is easy. Yeah. Yeah. Children.
okay, let's present the correct answer. Correct answer is letter C.
Yes. And then let's go to the next. Um, all right. The fourth question, I can see already answered. Many
Okay,
answered.
let's display it.
All
The
right.
correct answer is letter A.
Okay. And then let's go to the next. We have
And this is
5 minutes
the last, I think. Yeah,
for the before we start with our
for the ICFC. Then before we start with the next round of game.
uh, please give your answers. This is the last.
Yeah. And the correct answer is,
Yes. Please show the answer. Letter B.
yeah. All
Oh,
right, congratulations to all the winners. And we will announce who are you later at the end of the program. And for now, let's move to the next game, which we enjoy very much, Mildred, called the emoji. All right, emoji, 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 more and more emoji. Okay, so the first question or the first item here in this segment, let's display.
come on, keep it, keep coming, keep coming.
Oh, there is a misconnect here. I think
Oh yeah, there's somebody. Yeah, somebody
oh,
already.
somebody got it. Somebody got it. Wilder, did you see that? Okay, let's display the correct answer.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Then,
And next one, Wilder.
yeah. All right. Who's the next? Uh, I think somebody got already. Somebody got a lot of them already. Come on, let's show the answer. There you go. Congratulations to the first who did answer. And then the next question is, oh yeah. Yeah, somebody already answered it.
Okay,
So
let's have the answer on the screen. Okay,
and
next
let's
one.
next. Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody
Okay,
already
yes,
found the
let's
right
display the answer.
answer. There you go. And then let's go to the next.
Isn't this exciting, Mildred? You get to learn in JFINEX activity. You do not have to pay at all. There's no fee. We don't collect. And then you get to win prizes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if you're lucky, we have a lot of raffle draws.
Do we have a winner? I think this is a little challenging. Um, I'm not so sure if I was able to catch some of the answers.
Okay, so let's display the answer now,
If we have a winner,
regardless.
okay, let's go.
Okay, so let's display the answer.
Okay.
And then the next item, Next item, this will be the
Third to the last.
third to the last. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we have the answer already.
Ready? So let's flash the answer. And then let's go to number 7, please. Okay. Yeah, somebody already gave.
Answer that correctly. Okay.
And then the last but not the least, this is fun.
And this is the most important one.
Yes, yes. I uh, um, somebody made an answer, but the first name is not correct. Ah, I think somebody did already. Somebody
All
gave.
right.
Let's.
Congratulations, everyone. So we can start our program proper. Are we supposed to start our program proper? We are on time, 11.
Yep.
All right. So we'll start with a prayer.
So, yeah, again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the very first event of FINEX for 2020-21, the National Economic Development Recovery Forum. This webinar is a collaboration of Good Governance Committee and the Junior FINEX of the FINEX Foundation. I would like to thank and take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. We have the Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation, the NOAA Business Applications, the Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, the St. Peter Lifeline Incorporated, and Big Chill and Tulis Coffee. We would also like to thank our media partners. We have ANC, One News, and the Daily Tribune. May I now call on Miss Dada del Carmen to lead us in a prayer by singing of the national anthem.
Father God, all glory, honor, and blessing, all power and might, all praise and thanksgiving be to you, Abba, Father, to us all. We stand on your word, declaring that we call upon you. You will answer us and be with us in distress, as written in Psalm 91. Our deliverer and healer, we seek your protection for our families and all of us from the scourge of COVID-19 and all manner of disease and affliction. We pray especially for our health workers who tirelessly perform their duties at great risk to themselves. We pray for all of us co-workers in the business community that we may perform our tasks with greater diligence in these difficult times, to serve each other and our country in, in solidarity and spirit of social responsibility. We pray for all those in authority in government and the private sector that they may have all wisdom, competence, and strength to lead us and serve through this period of crisis, with special attention to our poor and disadvantaged brethren who are struggling to survive. We pray for reconciliation and peace among all Filipinos as we come to better realize for our oneness as people, in good times and bad, as a common dread unite us. So in acknowledgement of our dependence on you and in obedience, we approach you, Father God, humble ourselves and pray, seek your presence and turn from our evil ways that you may listen from heaven, forgive our sins, and revive our land, as written in 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14. In the loving name of your Son Jesus we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Dada. Now, to formally open this event, may I call in first the Phoenix Foundation Chairman, Mr. Jose Jerome Pascal III.
Thank you very much, Mildred and Dada. It was such an entertaining set of games earlier. Good morning, students, young leaders, and other distinguished guests. Happy New Year, and welcome to the 2021 National Economic Recovery Forum, brought to you by the Junior FINEX and Good Governance Committees of FINEX. Once again, my name is Jeng Pascual, and I'm the chairman of the FINEX Research and Development Foundation. After 10 months of staying at home, attending online classes, taking virtual open book exams, and attending Zoom forums such as today's, I assume your screen time statistics are, through the roof, and you must all be fed up with your gadgets and computers, right? Or maybe not. Or maybe you are still stuck on social media, role-playing games, and Netflix. Well, whatever your stay-at-home situation is, I'm sure a number of you have been thinking about meeting up with your friends over drinks or going for an outing to the beach. Somehow the Zoom inumans, Kahoot quizzes, and Facebook memories that you post are not enough to give you the same interactive life you had before COVID-19. And that's very true. And now, think about the many companies and workers whose businesses and livelihood were severely impacted by the pandemic. For them, the stay at home, work from home protocols that were implemented to protect people's health and safety also became a survival dilemma or even an existential threat. The Philippines has had one of the longest lockdowns globally, and while this has been criticized previously, it appears that with the resurgence of COVID 19 and its new variants in countries that relaxed their movement restrictions, our extended quarantines may not be so bad after all. What is important to consider at this point is whether the pathway chosen by our government to deal with the pandemic is resulting in the intended socio-economic outcomes. We are therefore privileged to have with us this morning one of the brightest and youngest leaders in government, the Honorable NEDA Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua, who will share with us his thoughts on the government's pathway towards national economic recovery and his recommendations to guarantee its success. Thank you very much, Secretary Carl, for once again accepting our invitation to engage our stakeholders in Phoenix. This time, the young minds who will inherit and shape the future of our country. I also wish to thank Dada Del Carmen, Paula Azurin, our student panelists, JPNX Committee Chair Mildred Bitangcol, Liaison Trustee Benny Soliven, and Good Governance Committee Chair Rod Franco, and Liaison Director Bing Matoto for collaborating and pulling this event together with the support of our ever-dependable Phoenix Secretariat under Mike Vinluan. We are all looking forward to the availability of the vaccine. hopefully sooner rather than later. But even without the vaccine, we can all do our part in accelerating economic recovery by acting responsibly and supporting government's efforts to rebuild both business and consumer confidence. Thank you very much, and please continue to take care of yourselves and each other.
Thank you, Jeng. Now, may I call on Attorney Francis Lim, the 2020 FINEX President, for his message.
Uh, Thank you very much, Mildred. Okay. Um, Thank you, Secretary Chua, and welcome. Thank you very much for gracing our very first event for 2021 and for speaking on an all-important topic, the National Recovery Program of the government. We're really truly honored to have you with us today. There's no doubt that the government has done exceedingly well in trying to address the economic impact of the pandemic. And what could be a more apt topic for the very first gathering, but the National Economic Recovery Plan that will be implemented by the government this year. This bounce back plan is not only for the country, for the business sector, but for all of us, because if the plan works, then our road to economic recovery as a country is very bright. And Secretary Chua, for your information, I was just going over the list of the participants. There are about 500 participants, no, who are actually attending this forum. And that shows, that highlights how important it is to them. That is the topic today. More importantly, there are about, I did a count, there are about 30 universities, no, joining this forum. And thank you very much for JFINEX and the Committee on Good Governance for thinking about collaborating. No? It's so important to have our students involved at the early stage of their life, no? So that they know how the government really handles things. Thank you in advance to all the panelists. And it's our hope, no, that this kick-off event, which appears to be, which is very interesting, as was demonstrated a while ago, will really set the tone for this year's activities. No? Not only in terms of how the audience enjoys it, but in terms of the content and substance. No? And this economic recovery plan of the government, which is our topic today, is very, very important, no, to an organization like FINEX. Again, thank you, Dada, for steering JFINEX for the past 4 years. I hope I got it right. And we really owe you a lot, no, for putting the JFINEX program on a high note. No? And I'm sure that Mildred will do the same. Thank you to all the organizers, and let's listen intently to what Secretary Jura will have to say. Maraming salamat, and I really hope that 2021 will be a much better year for us, especially with what the government is planning for the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Francis, for that very inspiring message. Our distinguished guest speaker for today's forum will be introduced by the JFINEX Liaison Trustee, Mr. Benny Solidaire.
Good morning, everyone. It is the primary star of the system designated 40 Eridani A, formerly named KEID, and that's spelled K-E-I-D, from the traditional name for the system, and it is easily visible to the naked eye. And this star was discovered on January the 31st, 1783, by William Herschel. Our speaker today became acting secretary of NEDA on April the 20th, 2020. Isn't that a nice date? That's about the time the lockdown took place. His top three priorities upon being appointed amid the COVID 19 crisis include fast tracking the national ID system, the economic recovery plan, and the Build program of the government. Prior to his appointment, he was Undersecretary for the Strategy, Economics, and Results Group in the Department of Finance. In this capacity, he helped the government implement its 10-point socio-economic agenda by ensuring equitable and sustainable financing through the comprehensive tax reform package. During his tenure at the DOF, he led the tax reform team to work with Congress to pass the Tax Reform for Acceleration Inclusion Law, also known as TRAIN, which corrected the long-standing inequity of the tax system by reducing income taxes while providing funding for the government's Build infrastructure program. Then, as Undersecretary, he was also critical in the passage of three pieces of legislation, increasing excise taxes on sin products such as tobacco, e-cigarettes, and maybe unfortunately for some of us, alcohol. But it was for a good cause, to fund the universal healthcare program. Prior to joining government, he was the World Bank Senior Country Economist for the Philippines. He spent 12 years with the World Bank. Our speaker completed his MA in Economics in 2003 and PhD in Economics in 2011 at the University of the Philippines School of Economics. Also, prior to joining the World Bank, he was Assistant Professorial Lecturer of Mathematics and Economics at the Ateneo de Manila University, where he also completed his BS in Management Engineering in 2000. He really is a smart guy. He was consultant for several local and developmental partner-funded projects in the area of economic and fiscal policy. Our speaker was named one of the 10 outstanding young men in January 2019 by the JCI Philippines, or Junior Chamber International Philippines. He is married and has one child. As you may have guessed from today's introduction, his hobby, or maybe even passion aside from economics, is astronomy, because he named his little boy after a star, Keeb Ashley. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished speaker for today, Secretary Carl Kenrick Chua. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pascual, Attorney Francis, and Mr. Sullivan for the kind introduction. And thank you also, Benny, for the nice introduction about my son's historical name origin. And thank you to FINEX, Junior FINEX, all the student participants. I understand numbering 500, to my colleagues in NEDA, for this opportunity to speak before you, share my thoughts, and also to convince many of our young members, students, of the value of directly helping the country, possibly through government. So there will be two parts to the presentation. The first will be my take on the COVID-19, the economy, the people, and the need to manage the risk. And I will invite three of my colleagues who were interns and decided to join government after they graduated from college. So let me begin the presentation. The first thing I wanted to share with all of you, especially to our dear students and junior members, are two economic principles that I would suggest you memorize, dream about, and apply. Because everything I will discuss later on, actually everything about public policy, everything about your own household decisions, and therefore the decision of the country, are driven only by two principles in economics, very basic, but if misunderstood, can mean that we don't appreciate where this country is now. The first is nothing is free from heaven. Everything has to be paid for. Clean water, clean air, the budget, the universal health care, the testing, for COVID and so on. And unfortunately, if we don't understand this, then we will have this very bad mentality of entitlement that you are entitled to all these and someone should provide them for you for free. Unfortunately, that is not how we should think. And policy is nothing about just getting something free from heaven. The second principle I wanted to share is everything is a trade off. There are fixed resources, whether it is budget, time, all other resources. And every time you use it for something, someone else or um, another option or alternative cannot use them. So if you have 100 peso for allowance per day, if you use it for food, you cannot use it for load. If you use it for your uh, shopping or malling, you cannot use it for your books. And these two are very important. And as I go through the presentation, please remember these two. Nothing is free from heaven. And second, everything is a trade-off. So let me begin with the Philippine development story. Our goal when the government started, the Duterte administration started, is simple. By 2022, we would reduce the poverty rate from 21.6 to 14% of the population. What that means is 6 million Filipinos lifted from poverty. And this basically means those who live below 60 pesos per person per day. And we also want to be an upper middle income country with gross national income per capita to at least $3,996, which is the level where our neighbors such as Thailand and China are today. And by 2040, we have this long-term vision written very well in our Ambisyon Natin 2040 document, where extreme poverty is eradicated. In other words, no one is hungry. We will, I suppose, always have some form of poverty because everything is relative. But by extreme poverty, we mean no one is hungry. And in 20 years' time, in 2040, or 19 actually, because we are now in the new year, we would have become a high income country like Japan and South Korea today. So this is our vision. The statistics sometimes get updated because of better data and methodology. But what we found that between 2015 and 2018, there were revisions in the numbers. So the poverty rate in 2015 was 23.5%. In 2018, when we did the survey again, we found that the poverty rate fell to 16.7%. What that basically means is we already lifted 6 million Filipinos out of poverty. That is 4 years ahead of our target in 2020. And that is a very important achievement. And had we not done this, then it would be a more difficult experience in COVID as we are seeing now. Now, the reason for achieving that is we have a lot of progress in our 10-point socioeconomic agenda. And one of the questions of the student I saw from the advanced list is our progress on this. The green ones basically say that we are progressing very well. Either we have achieved it or we are almost achieving it. The yellow ones are the ones we are working on. So I will not discuss the detail and come back to that later when the question is asked. But the most important thing is we have laid out a commitment and this government has delivered many of them already as early as halfway through the administration. Now, we also want to highlight that a lot of reforms were done prior to COVID, building on reforms of succeeding administrations that have resulted in first, strong economic growth. Second, the likelihood of becoming upper middle income country in 2020 prior to COVID, low and stable inflation, particularly because of the rice tariffication reform, which allowed us to bring down the price of rice by as much as 10 peso per kilogram, a strong fiscal position wherein we have the highest revenue as a share of our gross domestic product and the lowest debt. And this is enabled by tax reform. And this is a reason why we are able to access very good financing terms as we fight COVID. We have pursued the Build, Build, Build infrastructure program. We have spent a lot, almost exceeding our well, we reached 4.5% of GDP, or 882 billion in 2019, and we are going to exceed 5% this year again. We have the highest credit rating, which basically means when we borrow, we are seen as not very risky, and therefore we get very low interest rates. And because of that, every one of you who borrow for business expansion, for a car loan, a personal loan, an auto loan, all of these housing loans also benefit from lower interest rate. We have among the lowest unemployment and underemployment, and as I mentioned, the poverty of having been the lowest in our history. So all of these show the very good foundation as we entered COVID. But the reality is COVID happened, and so things are changing. But this strong foundation means we can recover also in a matter of a couple of years in our estimate. So let me now go to recent developments. We have been experiencing one of the longest lockdowns or quarantine in the history of our country, and also relative to other countries. NCR, the National Capital Region, accounts for 32% of the economy, and we have been in the first 2 months and a half of last year in regular status, that is the green. Then we went through a couple of months of ECQ. That's the hardest part in our economic life in recent times. Then we go to the pink, or the MGCQ. Then we relax to GCQ. And then in August, because of the increase or spike in the COVID cases, we went back to MECQ. And since then, we have been in GCQ. So that is the orange bar. Regions 3 and 4, which accounts for 26% of the economy, more or less follow the NCR story. And the rest of the regions are in a milder form of quarantine, which is the MGCQ. The story here is that we had to do this to contain the virus. And in the parts where you see the pink and the red, we had to do this, close down most of the economy so that we can prepare the health sector. And what have we achieved? Basically, we have increased testing from practically nothing at the start of the COVID pandemic to a peak of 46,597 tests per day. The latest is 27,272 tests, but we have capacity for 92,758 tests done per day. And this is important. And in fact, in the Southeast Asia region, we are the #1 country in the conduct of testing. Now, when you, of course, do all these testings, you reveal more cases. But that's really the purpose of a test, to reveal who are positive so that you can treat them, isolate them, or quarantine them. And the progress is actually quite significant also. In April, we only had 3,000 cases, but we had 500 deaths, or 17% case fatality. The latest, yes, we have so many cases, 489,000, but the deaths are just 1.9% case fatality. That is almost a 10%, 10 times reduction in the number of case fatality rate. So this is an important chart that we have to remember. That yes, we have many cases because of the testing, but we are able to isolate those who are sick, treat those who are sick, so that we minimize the deaths. Unlike in other countries where their deaths with even a smaller population are exceeding the case or the death or the fatality rate of the Philippines. Now, the real score, of course, is where we are today. Of the 489,000 cases, only 22,114 are active as of January 11. The far majority have no symptom or are mild. They can stay at home and or the quarantine center and can get well. We really have to be concerned just with the 2,123 severe or critical case which need hospital care. So I think this chart or table also show how much we have done to help the people. And what is important actually is that we have far more beds than are occupied. The blue chart shows you the total Philippine beds dedicated to COVID, around 25,000, but only around, if I am not mistaken, 8,000 plus are occupied out of the 25,000 plus. So that is only 1/3 occupied. This is a good sign because if any of you get sick or your family members or your parents, the hospitals are ready to care for them. And this is what we have done over the many months while putting the economy on quarantine to make the healthcare system far better. And this is the achievements that we have. Unfortunately, nothing is free. This will come at a cost. So let's look at the impact on the economy. The GDP is a measure of economic performance. It measures the total production of goods and services in a particular year or quarter. Notice that from 5.7 to 5.6 or 7% growth in previous quarters, we fell during the height of the quarantine to minus 16.9. We recovered to minus 11.5, and I'm hoping in 2 weeks' time, when the data are shown, we will be able to see even better improvement in our GDP. For some of you who are not studying economics, let me translate the impact. So in NCR and regions 3 and 4A, every day of GCQ, it basically costs the people 700 million peso in wages because some people cannot work. And some people are working less because of the restrictions. But if we don't do our job of protecting our own selves by following the minimum health standard, then we might risk going back to MECQ. And with the new COVID variant and with the number of cases slightly rising, if we don't cooperate and work together, then we will go back to MECQ, which is not going to be easy. And it will cost us 2.1 billion pesos in wages because in MECQ, public transport can't operate, the malls can't operate, and so on. So that's why we have to be very careful. Now, the visit to public transport station is also something we look or watch. It is still down by 50%, and this is based on Google data, which basically tracks using your phone where you go. From normal, we dropped to as low as minus 85% at the peak of the ECQ. We gradually improved, but we are still down by 50%. So what that basically means is 50% of the people don't take public transport because they probably cannot find adequate public transport. 30% of the people are still not going back to work. And this is something we are also concerned about because how will 30% of families survive or have enough income to buy their basic necessities? So as we do more quarantines, yes, we are able to contain the virus, help the health sector, but the cost is, the trade-off is some people are not going to have any money or job. And they also have to deal with their other health sickness like high blood or cancer or diabetes. Now, on the impact on the people, let me just highlight a few slides. The labor market has been reacting quite sensitively to our level of quarantine. So let me begin with the blue line, that is unemployment rate. Our unemployment rate has been steadily falling to a low of 4.5 to 5% in recent times. That basically means people who have no work, looking for work, and are available for work. During ECQ, it jumped to 17.7%. But when we go to GCQ, it went down to 10% and is now at 8.7%. And hopefully in the coming quarters, we will see it falling closer to 5%. Now, the underemployment rate is the orange line. It's actually back to normal. What that means is they have work, but they want more income because they need more income for their family, so they want more work. So what this chart shows is that we are actually closer to normal, but still we have to work hard to make sure no one is left behind. The next chart I will show you is the progression of job creation or employment creation through the quarantine period. From January to April, we lost 8.7 million jobs because of the ECQ. When we went back to GCQ, we recovered 7.5 million jobs. But because of the typhoons and the flooding, we lost 1.5 million jobs between July and October, of which 1.1 million is agriculture, and that is due to the typhoons and flood. So notice that we have made significant progress. But again, we have to do more so that no one is left behind in 2021. Our measure of hunger has also significantly improved. This is the Social Weather Station survey. Notice that the total moderate and severe hunger significantly increased in September. That is the spike you see at the right side. But then it fell also significantly in November when they did the survey again. And this is consistent with our opening of the economy. But notice it is not yet as low as pre-COVID. So therefore, again, we have to work more to make sure all these people, the 30% who are not able to work, are able to recover their jobs and their income sources. Now, the other thing we notice from the data on death certificates is that while we are concerned about those who died from COVID, and that is the 5,746 deaths you see on the left side, that is so small relative to the total number of other deaths. All other deaths are 100,000 plus from various sickness and conditions. Then 78,000 people from January to October died from heart attacks. 50,000 people died from neoplasms or cancer. 43,000 people died from stroke caused by high blood, among others. 29,000 people died from diabetes, pneumonia, and so on. So, while we are concerned about the people who died from COVID, the trade-off is what about those people, even your family members, your parents, even yourselves, who have other diseases, who have to have some job or income to find a way to take care of themselves. So this is something that we in MEDA are looking at, not just one person, one disease, or one sector, but the entire welfare of the country and the people. Now, the reality today is we have to live with the virus. It's not going to go away. Even with the vaccine, it will take 1 or 2 years before the virus can be controlled. But we cannot just hide in our homes as if everything will be safe. If we don't go out, do our job, do our obligation, our responsibility, especially those who are in the frontliners who should be doing something about the economy, then we are not going to get too far. So let me end with my recommendations. The implication of my presentation is that the economy is strong enough to recover if we allow it to do so. But our quarantine restrictions prevent the economy from fully recovering. And the answer to that is not to give more subsidies, but uh, to open the economy more, because all the subsidies will be expensive for the people. And again, these subsidies that we are giving doesn't come free from heaven. These have to be paid by revenues, mostly from taxes, either today or in the future. So the question is, would you like the people of today to contribute to the subsidies by paying more taxes, or we just borrow? But borrowing basically is postponing the obligation to contribute taxes to the future, and that future is all 500 students who are today listening to my presentation. So our recommendation basically is we need to open more of the economy as safely as we can. Public transport need to be sufficient yet safe, and we have to recover the lost demand by allowing more family activities. And I was consulting with the World Bank, and based on their analysis, no country keeps their children at home 100%. Um, and in a young country like ours, where the median age is 25 years old and 40% of the population is below 20 years old, then if the children are not participating in economic activities, the families are not participating, and therefore up to 50% of total sales and demand are not going to recover. So that is where we are today. So again, these are all the trade-offs that I want you to remember. Our recovery program comprised of 6 legislation. We are done with Bayanihan 2. It was extended to June. It provides support, emergency support, and special powers for the government to act swiftly to address any crisis. we are waiting for Congress to pass the CREATE. It is now in the BICAM. It basically lowers the taxes and gives tax incentives that are performance-based and targeted. We have seen the passage of the BICAM of the FIS, which will address liquidity problems of firms by helping banks free up non-performing loans so that they have more money and capital to help small businesses. We are waiting for the Senate to pass the guide to address solvency problems of firms. That's a typo, of firms. We have our Build, Build, Build program and the 2021 budget. Next year, we will have 4.5 trillion peso. 21.4% of the economy is driven by the government, of which 1.121 trillion is the infrastructure program that, if implemented as scheduled, will create 1.7 million jobs and help the economy recover to as high as 7.5% GDP growth. And I think this is one of our strongest program of recovery. But no perfect solution. There will always be criticisms, complaints. Every sector wants to be heard. But as I mentioned, nothing is free from heaven. Everything is a trade-off. We have finite resources. So it is actually our obligation in government, and all of you listening to me, whether you are students, business leaders, media practitioners, or other workers in government, to make a cost-benefit analysis of your own thinking or priorities to determine where we should put our scarce resources, in what programs or policies will they make the most impact on the people. And one of the hardest things that we have to do in government is to do this weighing of priorities. Yes, COVID is very scary. We have to address it. It has led to 489,000 cases, 22,000 active cases, 2,000 plus severe cases, and very sadly, 9,000 plus deaths, some of them our family and friends. However, on the other side, we have 23.7 million more hungry people because of the lockdown, additional 4.5 million poor because they cannot work, additional 2.7 million unemployed, and 438,000 all other deaths, as I've shown before. So this is really the very difficult task of government amidst all the criticisms, complaints, and other things people say. In the end, someone will have to make a decision, and that decision is not going to be perfect. It will have trade-offs. Nothing is free. I cannot provide everyone a solution, but this is the reality, and this is what public policy is really about. I asked you at the start to memorize, dream about, or apply the first two economic principles. Nothing is free from heaven, and everything is a trade-off. Let me add to all our students who are listening. The third one is please find time to know the facts. It is very easy to get something wrong or untrue from your constant friend, which is maybe social media or all other sources. The next is contribute to the solutions. There are many brilliant people who are well studied who tell me that you should do this. That is what to do. However, how do we do it if we have limited resources? If we have limited or institutions that are not perfect. So the most important question really for everyone to be of real value is to also contribute on the how to do it. And the last one is to share the good news. This is typically what happens in most service-oriented industries. Those who complain have many to complain, but those who want to say thank you have far less to say. And I'll just give an example. You go to a restaurant, you are served bad food, most likely you will complain. But if you're served good food, most likely you will not say thank you. That is human nature, reality. But the calling for all of us is to do more. And part of doing more is doing a discernment to think how best you can help the country. And I will end by this call for you to consider being part of the solution. And one of that is to consider government. I am seen here. This is my office, and three of my colleagues will be sharing on their experiences on number one, why they joined government as an intern, what they learned, that is number two. Number three, uh, why they joined government again when they graduated. Number four, what they learned, and and number five, why stay in government in this most difficult time. So three of them, Ray Gomez, who is the one in white beside me, will begin. He was an intern in 2015 and joined government in 2016. Then I will call Joseph, the one in blue, who was an intern in 2017 and joined government in 2018 after college. And finally, I will call Alo, the one in um, brown, who was an intern in 2018 and then joined government in 2019. Uh, the other is Raynel. She was not an intern, but she left her very high-paying job in the private sector doing financial analysis to, in the middle of the pandemic, leave her job, which I'm very sure pays so well, to come and help me in NEDA. So with that, thank you very much. And I now call our uh, three NEDA staff to share. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Ray. Thank you, Sir Carl, for the introduction. So I'm just gonna share basically the a summary of my government story so far. So yeah, I'm staff to Secretary Carl Chua. I help him with economic and financial analysis, especially for PPPs and transport projects. But I really first started as an intern in 2015 in the UF. So these are the summary of the learnings I had after joining the UF. So the first one is if you come with the right attitude and purpose, government work is super fun and interesting. So I had the opportunity to do two internships actually. So in my private sector internship, it was in FMCG. So I studied like 100 rows of data on four categories: toothpaste, toothbrush, mouthwash, shampoo. When I entered for DOF, they made me do analysis on everything that went through the Bureau of Customs. So all product categories that's imported with hundreds and thousands of rows of data. And from there, it was I was really overwhelmed at first, but then I really saw that the bigger jobs are in government and the more interesting work is in government. The second would be through service demands excellence. So study hard. So when I got into the internship, again, so much data, so much complexity. And then at first, I really didn't know what to do. I did study my math, review my economics, review everything. So yeah, the insight is the country's problems are complicated, and we need to keep learning and growing to solve them. And that's what you'll do in the government. You'll keep learning, you'll keep growing, and that's really a fun journey. And the last lesson I got from internship was there are a lot of good people in government. Sure, there are a lot of problems. There's good reason to be disillusioned in government. But really, if everyone was really so bad, we would be in a lot worse situation right now. So amidst all the darkness and the not so good people, there are really fantastic, brilliant people who you could learn from, who could mentor you. After my internship, I actually didn't apply for any other job. I went directly to DOF, and since 2016, actually making this slide. I was pretty shocked that my journey has been pretty fun and pretty interesting. I worked on tax reform laws, the jeepney modernization program. I modeled an infrastructure project, an airport in Clark. I made a framework for toll rates. Recently, we've been working on transport economic recovery measures like service contracting, shipping rollability, FRB. We were estimating the supply and demand of transportation during the different types of quarantine, which we had we had no literature, no models. We were really coming from scratch. It was a very exciting experience. And lately, we're actually researching the latest academic theories, international best practices for public investment planning to equitably and more effectively allocate our scarce infrastructure resources. So super duper fun work. If you're a nerd, if you like learning, if you like learning, studying different sectors, come to government, and then you'll actually have a lot of fun. And why stay and come back during the hardest time? So actually, in April, when Secretary got appointed, I was out of government already. I was working for a different development organization. And then he messaged me to come back and help him. And then within 10 minutes, I was able to say yes. And these are the reasons why. First, it was really the right thing to do. And I didn't want to feel guilty and have regrets. Like, look, I didn't want to grow old, look back, and knowing that there was this very difficult time in the country, and then I got the opportunity to help out, and I didn't take it. That's the first reason. Second is it's better to feel stressed than feel helpless with the crisis. When all of the COVID was happening in the beginning, I was really I think similar to everybody. I was scared. I was felt helpless. Felt despair. But when you're in government and you're working on a lot of things that can help, it's you're stressed, but it's better than feeling helpless alone at home and not knowing what to do, how to help. And lastly, not everyone is given the opportunity to serve, and the experience the joint field that comes with it. So I come here every day, I'm surrounded with people who want to make a difference, brilliant, smart people who I admire, and I'm very grateful for that. And not everybody gets that chance. So if you do get the chance, take it, do your best, and be grateful. Yeah, yun lang. Thank you. I think it's Joseph's turn.
Hi. Hello, guys. So going to be talking about my government internship experience. So, why I joined? It's mostly because I heard about it from my upper batchmate friend who also interned in DOF, and he's working also in DOF now. And he told me about how he learned a lot and how it's a really different experience from other internships out there. So I took a shot, and um, I gave it a shot, and I really learned a lot from there. So what did I learn? So for me, this, as Tech mentioned, so there's always a trade-off. So there will always be a lot of trade-offs, and there's a lot of interest that you have to balance, especially when you have to talk to a lot of people in reform work, such as the tax reform, and as you're restructuring a whole system and you're changing the status quo for a lot of people. And given that you won't always get what you want, but sometimes you really just have to make the most out of it. And second, to get difficult things done, you really need a lot of data and strong evidence to back up your claims. You'll always face some strong opposition who will always have counter arguments and claims against your reforms, but it's really important to always have strong evidence strong evidence to support your arguments and really to for what you're reforming. And it's also a really good opportunity to look at the bigger picture of your actions, especially in a national government agency where your work is directed towards the country as a whole. You're always challenged to ask yourself, what am I doing this for? What effects do I have on people? And it's really a different kind of thinking where you really have to consider the whole country and everyone else that you're talking to. So what made me go back to the government? So I applied again to the government as a staff because I really saw a lot of value in going into it again. So there's always something new to learn. There's always a lot of opportunities to grow and develop. It's a completely different experience to have that extra motivation or a different motivation stemming from your desire to help people. And you'll always be in a government, you're in a position where you can work towards the changes you want to see and learn about the different nuances of the current issues going on. Oh, yeah, so all in all, I'd really encourage you guys to join the government. It's really a valuable experience as a professional, and if you're really as someone who would want to contribute to nation building in this way. So yeah, thank you.
So, hello, good morning. I'm Alutan. Let me begin by saying that we all have preconceived notions of what it's like working in the government. Perhaps this is why it's not everyone's first career choice. This changed when I interned in the Department of Finance 3 years ago, supporting the passage of key tax reform legislation. Um, I didn't ex- I didn't expect to work with engineers, lawyers, mathematicians, and scientists, all of us in their respective fields, like-minded in every way, and all working in unison to achieve a simple goal of making everyone's lives better. The government is not perfect, but this doesn't mean that we take our jobs lightly. The reality is we know that there are those who are vulnerable and deserve better. Our experience with COVID in the past months has made this more apparent, but we can do something about it. One thing is clear, there's no better time to serve one's country than in this time of crisis. It is undeniable that today's youth, regardless of field, has the ability to make lasting and impactful change. It is precisely this reason why we need more young people like yourselves to face daunting challenges and work towards reaching our collective goals and aspirations. In the words of Martin Luther King, everyone can be great because everyone can serve. Yes, not everyone makes this difficult decision to join government, but you may be one of those lucky ones who do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray, Joseph, and Alo, for your sharing. Unfortunately, we did not have this situation wherein a female intern joined government later on. So I hope some of you there will be the first to do that. So with that, thank you very much, and over to the organizers.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Ray, Joseph, Alo, for your time and for the insights that you provided to the group here at J Phoenix. Um, wh- what uh, what we can do now, no, is given time constraints. Yeah, we'd like to provide the questions to Secretary Carl, and they can provide, and Neda can get back to the students with replies after. But I'd like to acknowledge that the following students who provided questions for Neda. First is John Paul Liban from University of St. Louis, Tuguegarao, BS Business Administration, major in Financial Management. Sophia Ann Bondok from the University of the East Caloocan, BA major in Financial Management. We have Mika Joy Sinfuego, St. Anne College, Lucena, Bachelor of Science in Accountancy. Rachel Ann Namol from De La Salle University, Manila, BA major in Political Science and BS in Accountancy. Um, John Mark Verar of Cebu Institute of Technology, BS in Accountancy. Ian Ray Mangcopa Valles, University of Mindanao, Maine in Davao City, BS Business Administration, major in Financial Management. And Shanna May Esquilio from Gordon College in Olongapo, BS in Business Administration, major in Financial Management. So to the students who provided questions for Secretary Carl, we'll ask the NEDA team to just get back to you. Um, and uh, and with that, we'd like to thank the NEDA team for their insights. No? So For the closing remarks, I'd like to pass the mic over to Mr. Senending Matoto, the Liaison Director of the Good Governance Committee of FINEX.
Thank you very much, Paulo. And that was a great presentation, Carl. If I were to think of one word to describe it, it's inspirational. I think the presentation that you made was very succinct and it, I think, delivered the message. But more importantly, I found quite inspiring the challenge, the call to the young. The three interns, ex-interns that you have in your team right now speaks well of the kind of youth and exuberance that you yourself demonstrate. And with that kind of fervor, I'm very sure that our country is really in good hands. It's a shame that we did not get to have some FaceTime for 7 students who actually prepared. Unless, Carl, of course, you're amenable to having a few minutes just to have some of them have some FaceTime and ask some questions to you directly, if you're okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Bing. Go
Great.
ahead. We can extend to whenever we complete the 7.
Great, great. So with that, perhaps Mildred or Paulo, maybe I can then turn it over back to you, and then we can have our students direct their questions to Carl. Thank you very much, Carl.
Okay, thank you, Carla, for your time. So I guess let's call on John Paul Liban first from the University of St. Louis in Tugigaraw for his question.
Hello. Good noon, sir. This is my question. How will we pay for all the government spending in this time of pandemic, and how it will affect the economy of the Philippines?
Thank you very much, John Paul. And I apologize. I think we spoke too long, but I hope it was something useful for all of you. Basically, we entered the pandemic with a very strong fiscal position. We achieved the highest revenue to GDP ratio and the lowest debt to GDP ratio. And we achieved the highest ever credit rating for our country's debt. What that means is the creditors see us as very fiscally prudent, responsible, and low risk. We are able to borrow at a rate as low as 2 to 3%. When we were less responsible and when we had a fiscal crisis in 2003, we were borrowing at 12%. So you can see the fantastic difference between borrowing at 12% interest rate and borrowing today at 2 to 3% interest rate. And despite the pandemic, despite the increase in our deficits and debt, the credit ratings did not downgrade the Philippines. In fact, it has kept us at a stable rating when the rest of the world have been seeing downgrades. And downgrades to the credit rating affects everyone. Instead of putting your scarce budget to providing vaccine or social protection or infrastructure, you would be paying more interest payments if there was a downgrade because we would be more risky and the interest rates would be higher. But because of fiscal discipline and prudence, because of building on successive reforms, and the most recent one being the tax reform, which enabled us to show a very good fiscal position that enabled us to grow our economy and provide for the poor, as evidenced by the lowering of the poverty rate and increase in our GDP. These are all important foundations on how we intend, yes, to borrow because of the urgency to address COVID, but because of our prudence and our good fiscal management, we are able in the proper time to recover and to pay our all the debts we have incurred. So again, this is a trade-off. Our debts have to be paid. They are not free from God from heaven. But because of our very good fiscal position, because of the tax reform that we have done, and the future tax reform that we will continue to pursue, this is how we are going to pay for them. In the end, any tax reform is going to be successful only if it is fair. And this is precisely the heart of the tax reform, so that we achieve vertical equity. The richer you are, the more you pay as a percent of your income. And the lower income families and the poor people are supported through subsidies, targeted subsidies, or even lower rates. And that is at the heart of our tax reform. So I hope, John Paul, that addresses the question. Thank you.
Okay. Next to ask a question is Sophia Ann Bondok, or Sophie, from the University of the East in Caloocan.
Good morning, sir. My question is, since most of us here are students, when the pandemic ends, what do you think is the best thing for us or the people of the Philippines in general could do to help, or just like what you've said earlier, contribute to the solutions in the recovery of our economy?
Thank you, Sophie, for the question. When the pandemic ends, hopefully towards the end of this year or early next year, when the vaccine is widely available, it will actually make significant changes to our lives. And I think part of that is to understand that pandemics such as this are not in the movies only, but are going to happen quite recurringly. And we have to be prepared. That is why NEDA, with other agencies, are working towards this new normal wherein health standards are going to be part of our daily lives. Before, when people have a cold, they just go to work or go to school or ride the MRT. Going forward, the mask will probably be a regular feature of everyone who has a cold or has a flu or so on. The second is things are going to change, be it in the digital world, be it in public transport, and so on. So a lot of these things are changing, and I think some of them are good changes because we should have been doing them long ago. But the pandemic actually provides us the opportunity. This crisis actually provided us an opportunity to fix our public transport system. Look at the bus rapid transit in EDSA, wherein we have a dedicated area for bus so that they can bring commuters from one point to the other point swiftly. Look at all the transactions that are being done over the internet through your phones. And I think all of these are good signs. In the end, I think, Sophie, and for all students, your job, really, your role as students, is to know the facts before you begin any discussion, because those discussion based on facts actually will be more constructive and will help our economy rather than engage in a non-factual discussion that actually creates more confusion. And this country really needs to move on with more certainty. And I hope that addresses your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Next to ask a question is Mika Joy Sinfuego of St. Anne College, Lucena.
Good morning, Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua. So our question is particular in the sector of education. We are hoping to know if SHED and other government institutions that used to grant scholarships will be able to continue to fund scholarships this 2021 for both the new and former recipients. If yes, will it be on the same value as before, or is it going to decrease in monetary value or the number of recipients? And if no, are there any programs that the government aligned to help students to financially aid their studies?
Thank you, Mika. The education sector is one of the highest priorities of this government and has been actually enshrined in the Constitution as being the sector that should get the most budget. I have made a quick inquiry with CHED and DOST, and they have informed me that there are no changes and there will be no discontinuance of the grants and scholarships, including any changes in the amount. And in fact, our Bayanihan law, we are going to provide more assistance to especially the students who are children of displaced overseas Filipino workers. I hope that answers your question. But let me also add the fact that there's no way we can achieve productive learning if students don't go back to school. So eventually, this is something that we have to work out. But we will have to do this following the advice of the health experts when it is safe to go back and in what ways we can go back because productive learning can't always be done from home and teachers are actually there to help students learn and there's a limit actually to learning online or offline or distant. So we are committed to working with the rest of government and the health sector and the experts to find a way where we can gradually transition back because the highest priority is of any person is to learn and with or without COVID, we continue to learn. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Next to ask a question is Rachel Ann Namol of De La Salle University in Manila.
Uh, Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to thank FINEX and Good Governance Committee for this opportunity. And of course, I'd like to thank Secretary Carl Chua for his time and in sharing his knowledge to all of us here today. Okay, so this leads me now to my question. Indeed, and it was actually discussed a while ago that most work are not applicable to a work from home setup. So there's a need for public transportation since it was also discussed a while ago that public transportation is a need for most people, especially it was suggested that more work would lead to a higher GDP. I was wondering if NEDA has a partnership project with DOTR in addressing the need for a public or for a better public transportation, or since there's a possibility of transmission of the virus. So yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. We work together in government through the interagency task force on the prevention of communicable diseases such as COVID. And we have actually agreed as early as October to further open the public transport. And there's a basic rule. The basic rule is the 1 seat apart. And we are seeing some progress on that. And the fact is, and this is something we should look at the data. The fact is, when we opened the public transport, we did not see the cases shoot up. When you look at the data, day-to-day data since October, it actually was steady or falling. Sometime in end December, it started to increase. But that was not because of public transport. That was because people were meeting each other for the holidays. Uh, and so we find that the public transport are sufficient and safe. But we always can do more. The problem is after 6, 7, or 8 months without public transport and the fear of the virus, we have this risk aversion. We think it is not safe. The survey done by NEDA shows that many people think public transport is not safe. But this is an impression actually, which both the government should correct by showing that we are serious about ensuring public transport are safe. We call out those who violate and so on, but also for the private sector, the employers to help bring their workers to the office, and also for the general public to practice the minimum health standards because 95% of the time you will get COVID because of your own action. If you wash your hands, social distance, and wear a mask or a face shield as needed, then you are unlikely to catch the virus. So there's a cooperation that needs to happen. Thank you.
I have a second question pa actually.
Yes, sure.
It's actually connected to prior COVID-19. So what do you consider as NEDA's best policy or program prior to COVID-19? And also, were you able to improve it accordingly due to the sudden drop in the economy?
Well, I joined NEDA in April 2020, but I've been working with NEDA for previous years. I think one of the most important reform that NEDA led and supported by other agencies was the rice tariffication law. Basically, prior to the rice tariffication law, we had limits on rice importation. The result is Filipinos were paying double for the price of rice compared to our neighbors in Thailand, Vietnam, China, Singapore, Malaysia. And the farmers are not particularly doing well. So we enacted the reform that NEDA led, and it resulted in number one, uh, rice prices that are 10 peso per kilogram cheaper from the peak price because rice prices went very high in 2018. And number two, we are able to provide farmers a guarantee of 60 billion peso of productivity support, whether it will be machineries or the high yielding seeds. And without rice tarification, we wouldn't be able to help consumers, all of us eating rice, and the farmers. And the fact is, yes, there were birth pains in the reform, but as of the third quarter of last year, rice production was 16% more. So farmers are better off, the consumers are also better off, and the country is better off. If we didn't do that reform and we enter COVID with no jobs or income for most of the people affected by COVID, then you can imagine the number of hungry people that we would have. So all these reforms were important. And in particular, the rice tarification law was the most important. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
po.
you, Rachel. Next to ask a question is John Mark Verar or Verar from Cebu Institute of Technology.
Good noon, sir. Thank you so much for extending your time. So, here is my question. Among the recommendations to boost the recovery of our country's economy is to open sufficient number of safe public transports which follows the experts' guidance on minimum health standards. This in a way will help ordinary people to go buy their necessities and to travel to their jobs as soon as possible. This may be the case for employees and workers, but as stated for ordinary people, there may be a rise of risk aversion because of the fact that there may be some people who are the carriers of the virus and do not show any symptoms. So the question is, are there any alternatives that the government could provide which would increase the demand for products and services aside from opening safe public transports that follow the minimum health standards?
Thank you very much, John, Mark. Let me just describe how the economy is today. The economy has all the productive assets to achieve high growth. We have the infrastructure, we have the private sector, vibrant, we have the people, highly skilled. In fact, many countries would want a Filipino working for them because of the skills. Uh, all the productive assets of the economy are there and ready to perform and produce goods and services. The problem is because of the COVID, and this is a trade-off that I'm talking about, we shut down most of the economy. Although we are gradually opening it up, a far majority of the economy is still not allowed to work. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about family economic activities. We have kept the children at home for good reasons because they are likely to spread COVID, even if they are not going to be sick or symptomatic. But by doing that, uh, we prevent family activities, and family activities is 30 to 50% of the total economy. So you can imagine half of the economy is driven by workers and individuals. Half of the economy is driven by family activities. Why? Because we have a young population. 25 is the median age, and 40% of the population is below 20. But our rule is for their safety and our COVID response is they stay at home, even they cannot go to school. So one of the things we are working on, and we have to do this carefully, gradually, and always only upon the advice of the health experts, to see in what way we can gradually lift this remaining restriction, which is not allowing children to go out. Because if the family activities don't come back, then we cannot expect the economy to also grow like before. Because as I mentioned, we are a consumption-driven economy, and a big part of that is family-driven. So we are going to work on that apart from the public transport, but we are going to do that only upon the advice of the experts. But given the experience of other countries, I think there is an opening. For now, there are new COVID variants, so we take a step back and we assess when would be the proper time and how we will manage that risk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, next to ask a question is Ian Ray Valles from the University of Mindanao, Maine in Davao City.
Hi, sir. My question is, considering the increased competition in the labor market due to the labor force re-entry of people who may have lost their jobs or people who temporarily stopped working out of fear of COVID-19, what advice can you give to students or soon-to-be graduates who are entering the workforce for the first time in 2021 or 2022?
Thank you for the question, Ian. When I was in college and I graduated the year 2000, uh, there were many competition for a few jobs. But compared to today, in 2021 or the next few years when you graduate, the competition will be more intense. Why? Because we are in a global world already. You're not competing only with your classmates or fellow Filipinos. You are competing with the rest of the world. And the second thing that makes it more challenging is you are also competing with technology because many jobs are uh, are being replaced by technology. We should look at this positively because while there are many jobs that are being replaced by technology, there are also new jobs that can form out of the new technology or the innovation. So this is this creative, disruptive process of job creation, and this is the reality for everyone. And the best way to prepare is really to have the proper technical and behavioral preparation. Technical is what you have to do in school. Take your schooling seriously, and that is why we are thinking that eventually we will really have to go back to school if we are to optimize learning. The experts do not agree that offline or online learning will have the same impact as face-to-face learning. But again, as I mentioned, we will do that gradually and safely, only upon the advice of the experts. Number two is the behavioral part. A big part of what you learn in school won't apply directly. You won't be solving mathematical equations or uh, or mixing chemicals. But your behavior, which is to be open to learning new things, to always be in a constant learning mode, is so crucial in this fast changing world. Those are the two that are very important. And I think if all of you have those two, the technical and the behavioral preparation, then it would be easier to compete. Those who cannot compete are basically, I think, the profile of those who finish school. Yes, they are very well prepared, but they're not open to learning. They feel they know everything. Those people, I think, will not be able to compete. But if you have the openness to learning and you continue to learn, then I think you will be able to compete more in this very competitive world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And lastly, maybe call on Shana May Esquilio, Sha, from Gordon College in Olongapo.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is, since there's already a plan for the dissemination of the vaccine, when do you see the age restriction for going outside being lowered down? Since you mentioned earlier that it would help improve our economy.
Thank you, Shana, for the question. I really don't know when. This is something that I am the IATF and the health experts continue to monitor. But let's look at the experience of other countries as an example. They are prioritizing the most vulnerable people, basically the senior citizens, the frontliners, because these are the two groups who are likely to catch the virus. Now, in the Philippine setting kasi, we found out from a study, the parents work and the children stay with the grandparents. And on the one hand, there is a concern that if the children catch the virus, although they're likely to feel it mildly or asymptomatic, they can infect the grandparents. So that is why our vaccine distribution strategy prioritizes the most vulnerable people, the frontliners, the senior citizens, and the poorest people who cannot afford to be sick and must go back to work. And uh, and we will continue to monitor and decide at once we see all those data show. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl, for your extra time. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure the students here also appreciate it. And I'd also like to thank your team, Ray, Joseph, and Alo, for their insights as well. So with that, I'd like to turn it over
Hello,
again to
hello,
Bing.
Paulo, Francis.
Yes, yes,
Secretary
Francis.
Carl, thank you very much for sharing your busy time amidst your very busy schedule. No? We really appreciate it, no? And we look forward to supporting you. Just let us know what support you need, and we'll try to do our best.
Thank you very much, Francis and Paula.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So Bing, can I turn it over to you to close the forum?
Thank you very much, Paolo. And again, everybody's very grateful for your time. Hello.
Sorry, no, before you go, no? Sec?
Yes, yes.
Just wanted to share with you the good news. FINEX was able to rally 50 business groups to co-sign with us the public statement and the letters to Congress for the immediate passage of the upgrade. I just received the news just right now. So that's one concrete support that I'm happy to share with you. No? We do believe in create, Mr. Secretary.
Oh, thank you very much. That
50,
is
it's a record
helpful.
breaking. The last one was 44 when I was in MAP. Now, under FINEX, we were able to get 50.
Thank you very much. That is very good news indeed.
Yeah. We'll issue the statement tomorrow. We deliver the letters today to the House and the Senate, and tomorrow we will issue the public statement just after both houses officially receive our letters.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I was saying, thank you, Carl, for sharing your time with us and your staff. I'm sure that all of our participants in this forum, particularly the students, have been inspired really by the kind of commitment and dedication and excellence that you have been demonstrating and showing that, in fact, as I said earlier, our country is in good hands. I was struck by your very succinct, very simple, straightforward comments that I'd like to just sort of recap that nothing is free from heaven. Second, everything is a trade-off. And then, of course, know the facts before you can contribute to the solutions. It's easy to say what to do, but what is more important is how to do it. And I'm sure each of us in FINEX and Junior FINEX would be more than pleased to do our own part in being part of the solution and try to see how we could contribute to the betterment of our country. And finally, I'd like to say that sharing the good news, as our President Francis said, this is only the start. We hope to be able to have our own individual ways to be able to share the good news that our government and with the participation of the citizenry will be able to help us recover from this pandemic that has hit us badly in more ways than one. Again, with that, Carl, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward perhaps for part two, sometime midterm of the year, find out how things are going. Thank you.
Wow, that was an awesome session. Thank you, Secretary Chua. Thank you, Bing, Paolo, Dada, Jeng, Francis, Benny, and to our 7 panelists. And we cannot thank enough our secretariat for helping us making this a successful event. And that was really an insightful and productive session. So before we end, I'd like to share this quote. In every crisis, doubt, or confusion, take the higher path of compassion, courage, understanding, and love. We pray that our Lord will continue to bless us and help us overcome all the challenges that come our way. Enjoy the rest of the day and take care and stay safe.
Mildred, may we have our photo taken
Of
for
course.
the students to have a souvenir? May we ask everyone to open your video? And then may the secretariat take a photo or screenshot.
That will be many, many photos.
Yeah.
We have 500. Earlier, we had 500 plus, 530 plus.
Yeah, and we also have participation from YouTube and other social media format.
And also the Q&A. There were so many questions. We'll just give you the answers of the questions after the session. And also the winners, we will give, we'll connect with you and give you your prizes.
Yes. Honorable Carl Chua, thank you so much for inspiring and encouraging the JFINEX community. Thank you for imparting knowledge. Thank you for sharing everything that you can share to our community. Thank you so much. And we pray for you. God bless you, strengthen you, and that we may be able to serve our nation together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we done? Are we okay with the photo session?
Yeah, we thank also our Mildred. Let's thank our participants. Let's thank our student panelists. Thank you for sharing your time despite you have to cram for your exams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you
Thank you,
again.
everyone.
Thank
First
you,
event.
FINEX.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, Dada,
Thank you,
Mildred,
Thank you.
Carl.
Bings.
Francis Lim, thank you.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Benny.